What did you think of how Pete seemed in his Fox and Friends interview?
Yeah, I don't think he prepared. And honestly, I think that it was probably a bad move to do that. I understand why his team is advising him to do it. You know, he has an audience of one. It's the President of the United States. And he wanted to appear combative and he wanted to appear forceful. I'm not sure what message he really got across. Like, am I a leaker? Is it possibly exonerated? You fired me? Like, I honestly don't know. And we've had no official communications from anybody besides the Air Force advisors that came to me because I asked them to come. The
Air Force guys.
Yeah, and none of the other guys have had anything. So I'm not 100% sure. And what I think of it, I don't know, just to me, it's an example of people on the staff that are giving him bad advice. I thought the Signalgate response when he deplaned from the plane in Hawaii was a terrible. If you look at who was in the background there, you have Sean Parnell and Joe Casper right in the frame. Then he's out there yelling about how it wasn't war plans, it wasn't classified. All he literally needed to say was, I'm the Secretary of Defense. I got an email from General Kurilla that was secret, and I am an original classification authority, and I declassified portions of it and provided it to the cabinet team because I needed them aware of certain things.
Yeah.
Guess what?
On a text thread somebody else started.
100% illegal, 100% legal. He is an OCA. He can't do exactly that. And explain it all away. The problem is that the people that were advising him don't even know what an original classification authority is. They never heard of it. It wasn't something that they could have suggested because the team he has they're not like people that know what to do.
They don't know how to protect him.
Right.
Which could lead to a lot of frustration on his part. Do you think he's okay? You know, do you think Pete is okay?
Yeah, I honestly don't know. I'm not sure. I have observed a Pete that is one Pete and crushes it in meetings. For example, this is out in the press. They did like a little blog post on it, but the House Freedom Caucus came to talk to us about budget. It was a breakfast. They all came. It was super interesting. Their bus hit like a signpost on the way in and shattered some windows. So they were super late, but they all came in. They're super excited to be there. A lot of them had never been to the Pentagon before. These are people that want to spend less. They want a strong national security. They want a strong defense, but they don't want us to have a big budget. And they're afraid that if we go up, domestic spending goes up and everything falls apart from their ability to balance the budget. Secretary crushed that meeting. I've never seen a meeting like that. There is not a secretary in living memory that could have done as good a job with those guys. It was informal. He was super direct. He was very transparent. And they left. I could tell you they left. It was like the best trip they've probably ever been on all year. At the same time, I've seen the secretary in more internal meetings where he is super focused on like very, in my opinion, weird details and very agitated and kind of like yelling and just nothing's good. So it's like a tale of two Petes. And I'll be honest, I'm not the person to ask about what he was like before and all. Like, I don't know. Mm-hmm. I'm just telling you what I observed in the 90 days that I was there.
Was there like a particular point at which his agitation stepped up?
Yeah, I think, roughly it was around the time of Signalgate, maybe before when some of these leaks started. There was a focus on the leaks. So don't get me wrong, like leaking is bad and there are leakers and we should try to catch them, especially when it comes to classified things. I'm mostly concerned about leaks that lead to like true OPSEC concerns where there are U.S. service members' lives at stake, and maybe less of the like policy stuff. But if the policy thing sinks a negotiation or something like that, like this is critical that we don't do that, and we should find those people. And I don't think that those people are people that the Trump admin brought in on the team. I don't think it's Dan. I don't think it's Darren. I don't think it's anybody else that's a political. My personal opinion. We're aligned on the mission. We all want the same thing. He was very focused on the leaks, and honestly, I think it's kind of like consumed the team a little bit. Like if you look at a pie chart of the secretary's day, at this point, 50% of it's probably leak investigation press. Like it's that, and like that can't be. That is a bad thing for America. It's a bad thing for the president's objectives. And then in order to kind of combat an image, it's, hey, we're going to go work out with the troops. I'm a troop. As a second lieutenant in the Marine Corps, I thought that was the fucking coolest thing in the world. Mm-hmm. The Secretary of Defense is out doing push-ups with me. As a midshipman, when he went to the Naval Academy, like, hell yes, I would have been screaming on the side too. However, I think I've matured a little bit to the point where I realize that while that is important and it's a thing to do and get out there, because it helps with recruiting, It just helps like with morale. You know, if you're taking a half-day trip to the Naval Academy at the same time the budget is due and we really need some support here, like, come on, you got to weigh priorities. And so I don't know. I mean, when you ask if he's okay, I don't know. I'm not sure. I wish I could definitively say he's totally fine, but I don't know.
Mm-hmm. That's so unfortunate. That whole Signalgate thing was, I mean, I just don't even think it was Pete's fault. It was like, obviously, Mike Walz's office committed a colossal error.
Yeah.
Those on the chat, I guess, technically should have known they shouldn't have been having this discussion on Signal, but it seems to me like they used Signal, and the previous administration had Signal on the computers, and it was like no one was really seeing this as an insecure channel, even though...
Yeah, I'll be honest with you, you go to Ukraine, like they're fighting off Signal.
Yeah.
So it is the rule, hey, don't put sensitive information on Signal? Absolutely it is. Was the information classified? Like, probably. As an intel officer, I'd say my personal opinion is, yeah, it was classified. However, Secretary can just say, I declassified it.
Yeah, exactly.
And he literally has the authority to do that. And by the way, the OPSEC concerns from that, like, okay, the bad guys that could hack it, they have radars and kind of know when we're taking off from aircraft carriers and stuff, right? So like they already know what we're doing. And the bad guys that don't have the ability to crack it are getting bombs dropped on their head and like they don't know.
They're not cracking Signal.
Yeah. So,
but it's so unfortunate because it was a successful mission, you know, something to feel proud of. And all the press around it has been about this Signalgate thing, and so much of it on Pete's shoulders, even though he's not the one who created the chat or who added
I agree.
Jeffrey Goldberg. So I feel for him, and I'm sad to hear it's become such a distraction for him because it'd be great if he could focus on this. I know I can hear that you feel the same. If he could just focus on the mission
it just
that he's
adds
trying to
a lot
enact.
of stress that is not needed when you already have a lot of stress on like really important things.
Yeah. And also, you know, we talked about, I gave you the timeline, the audience the timeline of all the leaks that had preceded that Signal thing. So he's already dealing with somebody internally or maybe multiple somebodies. If you look at the agenda, you know, the suspected agenda behind these leaks, who's trying to hurt him?
My read is that there are, for each one of these leaks that you mentioned, and probably some that aren't even in there, there is a specific person that is doing it. It's not one person, it's a person per thing. And they all have some agenda. Elon. The agenda either was someone disagree with Elon coming and getting whatever brief he was going to get, and so they wanted to blow it up, or it was someone that disagreed that maybe the White House didn't know about it and wanted to shut it down, right? But it's one of those two things.
Is it somebody who accurately deduced Trump will not like this?
Potentially.
Yeah, because he didn't.
Potentially. I would put my money more on the former, which is like someone just didn't want this to happen. And then wanted to blow it all up.
Yeah, because just to be clear, it's not all Pete loyalists surrounding him and in these meetings. I mean, there will be some people who maybe weren't thrilled with the choice. There's a lot of people in the Republican Party who are more neocon-y or who just thought he was inexperienced and didn't belong in this role, right? I mean, you tell me, but within the Pentagon, it's not all loyalists.
I think that it goes back to building the team. So I'm a firm believer in, like, in order to get stuff done, you have to have a team. The whole part of the team is trust. And you have to trust the department. Will there be people that are trying to undermine you? Absolutely. Are there going to be people that have their own agenda in the department? It's 3 million people. Of course there are. Half of them are probably Democrats, half of them are Republican if it mirrors America. The reality, though, is you can't just like write a memo and then it's done. You have to rely on the people to get the work done. And when you find people that aren't, you eliminate them or put them off to the side or whatever mechanism you can use to make that person less of an obstacle. My observation from the first 90 days, and this is going to sound weird, is that we had less of a problem from like the deep state bureaucrats in the department than we did from maybe some people on our own team. And that sounds weird, but if you think about the department, the civilian workforce, I don't want to say they were running scared. Maybe they would come on and say that they were scared, but we were actively shaping that workforce to be proactive to what we wanted done. And where there were people that were like an obstacle, it was just steamroll over them. The military workforce is the military. They clearly have their agendas, especially at the general officer level. Like there's agendas for sure. And I watched some of the agendas play out. But at the end of the day, like they work for the secretary and he says this is what's going to happen, and the military goes and does it. Where I saw us run into problems was like we did not have a functioning political team process.
The people he brought in.
Yeah, really one person in my opinion, but it was
Joe
a non-functioning process. Yeah, if Joe just said, hey, I realize that I'm not the right person to actually chief the staff. I'm better for special projects. I mean, Joe's a nuanced person because he's not he's not like a complete idiot, right? He was useful for certain things, and he did a good job at those things. Hey, renaming Bragg and renaming Benning. That was Joe. He managed that whole thing end to end, came up with a clever solution, and went and did it. Unfortunately, that probably took hours of his time when he should have been like chiefing the staff for much larger strategic efforts that we were trying to do. But he did it. Now, if he said, hey, Joe's going to go do special projects like that and like knock it out of the park, great. The secretary brought in Darren to chief the staff. From my perspective in the deputy's office, I was kind of told, like, hey, Darren's the guy to work with now. And this is how we're going to do it. Mm-hmm. Joe would get mad about that and like not accept that fact. And so
now that he's gone, do you feel like it'll be a more functional place? Sort of gone?
I've thought through this before in the last couple of days. I'd like to hope so, but I think that there's a lot of water under the bridge at this point that's going to be really hard to recover from. There is like actually a culture of kind of fear and toxicity. And, whether it was the disgruntled former employees, like it is clear to me that there are people in the department that are actively leaking and are seeing this as an opportunity. And I'm not sure how you recover from that. What I was told, driving up here from New York City is like they're polygraphing people actively right now in the department. There's just like a culture of fear. It's people that are like political people, that are on the team, and no one's going to want to come into that environment. So if you've created that environment, you're basically, it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy now where people are just going to leave because no one wants to deal with that. And then your team gets smaller and smaller and smaller.
Tariff wars, stubborn inflation, no wonder gold has been routinely hitting all-time highs. In volatile markets like the one we have now, don't sit on the sidelines with your head in the sand. You can take control and safeguard your savings. This is why so many Americans today are turning to Birch Gold Group. They have helped tens of thousands convert an existing IRA or 401k into an IRA in physical gold. Is it time for you to hedge against economic instability with gold? To learn how to own physical gold in a tax-sheltered account, text MK to 989898. Birch Gold will send you a free, no-obligation info kit. Again, text MK to the number 989898. With an A-plus rating with the Better Business Bureau and countless 5-star reviews, Birch Gold has helped many protect their savings with gold. It took decades to get into the tangled mess that they're trying to unpack now in D.C. How long will it take to get out of it, and what cost? Text MK to 989898 today. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.